Welcome to Soltron. This is the video review for Tobot Heavy Metal. And here's the size comparison. You can see he's bigger than Supreme class figures, but he's still smaller than Justice Titan by a head, but he is enormous. And this guy's box is also huge. It takes up pretty much my whole review area. And then if you compare that with Rex Kaiser's box, which is also an enormous box, Heavy Metal's box is even bigger than this gigantic box. Though Rex Kaiser's box is a lot deeper. This box is very shallow, and it does have some artwork on the side where you get their names: steel, chrome, and iron. And then the back side, if you wanted to display it vertically, you also have that choice. So definitely looks cool, takes up a lot of shelf space, really gets a kid's attention. And because this guy has 3 figures, you do get 3 sets of printed instructions for this guy. And here's a 360 view of this guy. And this guy might be one of the biggest Tobots ever made, if not the single biggest. He's probably bigger than all the other combiners. He's just really enormous. But you can see his overall look is kind of plain. There's not a lot going on here. Well, actually, I guess there is a lot going on here. He is kind of busy looking, come to think of it. If we got to look at his head sculpt here, it's kind of hard to see. It's all buried in shadow. But he's got like a mono eye going on. So he's got a Cyclops eye with this tri-point helmet, and his visor's all black. So kind of interesting looking, and his head is very hard to turn. There you go. There's his, like a side view. So not really a terrible head sculpt, but very clunky looking, which I guess goes with the figure in general. He's very clunky. I kind of like the look of him because he reminds me of Energon Optimus Prime, but he's kind of just odd looking in a lot of ways. Like his arm symmetry is kind of an issue. At least his fists end up in the same place. But this arm doesn't even look like an arm. It just looks like a chunk of vehicle. This one looks like it could pass for an arm, but he's got a lot of aesthetic problems, I would say. And then in this combined mode, this piece doesn't have anywhere to store. It's just the cement mixer spout. And then this piece technically doesn't have anywhere to store. You can do something with this. But yeah, I think this guy's whole gimmick is that he's big. I wouldn't say that he's fun. He does everything the way you would expect. But one thing you can do is you can slide off this this arm here, and then you can slide on this pile driver attachment, and this can become a handle. So you can just stick that in one of his hands, and then you can have kind of this whip looking kind of weapon, which I don't know, doesn't really make him look any better, to be honest. I don't know. Yeah, so that's one accessory he comes with. And then unfortunately, it would have been nice if this would have became a chest piece, if it would just open up into a gold crest and you just attach it right there, because his chest is just very plain looking. He looks like one of those Optimus Primes that's aimed at kids, and I guess this guy is aimed at younger kids probably, but he is huge, so I guess that's a point in his favor. And then it does bug me that he's got, like, his robot arm is right here, and then his other robot arm just ends up on his back. That's kind of annoying, is that there's no symmetry there. It should like connect to this vehicle, would be nice. And then probably the biggest problem with this guy is he feels pretty floppy in hand. His joints are kind of weird. So the first thing is his neck is like overly tight. So turning his head there's a good chance that you're going to pop off his helmet. So that's like annoyance number one. He does have these soft ratchet joints, which feel gross. So these are for his shoulders. So these are actually holding pretty good, but over time, I can't imagine that these joints are going to survive. And then he does have some outward clicks, which is nice. That feels very solid. And then he does have like a bicep curl, I guess. You can kind of move this junk out of the way, and you can kind of move this robot's hip down, and that can unlock like a bicep swivel. But it just, he's not meant to do this. This just completely breaks the sculpt. This is not a point of articulation at all. And when this is down, this actually locks his hips from rotating. He actually loses his bicep swivel. So, and I guess you can technically count this as an elbow, but you get curling iron arms. So trash. His other arm is worse. You do get that shoulder, same thing. You do have like this kind of weird breaking joint action happening, which is too loose to even hold up. So you don't even have outward motion on the shoulder. Oh, this does have a ratchet, so you actually, I take that back. You do have outward motion, but this is so floppy. Good luck doing anything useful with this. He does have like this weird joint, which is not supposed to be used. So this arm is actually frozen. He can't even bicep swivel or anything with this arm. So the only articulation you're going to get is shoulder articulation, and then a couple outward clicks, which is not bad. He does have waist swivel, so that works pretty nicely. He does have a full forward kick. He does have a full backward kick. He does have more than 90 degrees at the knee thanks to transformation. And then he has nothing in the foot. And he does have thigh swivel too, which is just on a mushroom peg. Yeah. And I think you can kind of tell over camera that this guy sucks for posing. Everything feels kind of mushy. And his knee joints, like this is really annoying, is this forward lean he's got going on because the teeth in this ratchet don't activate correctly. His knees can be a little bit soft, so he loves to fall backwards like that. You just give him a little shove and he'll just collapse on you, which is kind of what you would expect of a figure that's this big and badly engineered. Okay, so there he is, basically reset. I really don't want to try to put this guy into like an action pose. It seems like it's not going to be fun or rewarding at all. Yeah, and then because these are just on swivels, he's just easily going to collapse. Even when I was trying to like give him his A pose earlier, his legs are spreading more than I want them to. That's okay. He's kind of working out right now. Yeah, this is not a fun toy. I feel kind of sad if a kid gets this toy. I guess the combining gimmick is pretty fun, but posing this guy, and I guess maybe bashing him against other robots could be fun. But yeah, the hand feel on this guy sucks. He's just not fun. He's got all these little bits that like to come off, like these little tractor bits back here. This is not really secured in place. Like gravity is doing a lot of the job here. He does have like, I forgot to mention, like a butterfly joint here thanks to transformation. He feels very floppy. He does not hold up. But anyway, I'm gonna stop complaining. So he does have like another mode, which is pretty cool. So you get, this arm here makes up an entire robot, which is pretty cool. And this arm makes up another robot. So that's cool. And then you get the main robot can also turn into his own form. So you got to take off these tractor pieces off the back of his legs, and then you push his shins forward again. And then you can do a cool thing where this combined foot like wraps around to the back of the calf, and then these wheels are going to lock that into place. So you just take the combined foot, get this connector port out of the way, and then you just move the wheels. And that does a really cool thing of making his legs smaller and skinnier, which is pretty cool. And then you're going to take his combined mode helmet, you're going to take that off, and you can get a clearer look at his base mode head, which is very interesting. One of the most generic looking Tobots I've ever seen. He just looks like a drone. And then you're going to get these red pieces. So off of his arm and the one off of his back. And these are going to use those connection points on his shoulders. You just slide those down and they'll click into place. And then you can slide up the shoulder armor. And then you get these elbow joints basically. And then you can leave the drill hands on his hands too. So that's kind of a cool form. I like these little drill bits on the shoulders and the drills on his hands. I think this actually looks better than his combined mode. And you can get rid of the drill hands. And you can just pop out his regular fists. And the nice thing is this guy has pretty good elbows. They're 90 degrees and they do have bicep swivel. So his articulation is much improved in this mode. So you can actually get something that's more interesting looking. Oh, and the other nice thing is his cement mixer spout can now get locked onto his back, and you can take the extra drill bits and those can peg on to the cement mixer for storage. So there's a look at how he looks in his base mode, and I think this is actually better in a lot of ways. He just looks cooler. The drill hands are pretty nice. The drill shoulders also come out in full effect and match like his cool little drill knees. And his proportions are just much better. So this robot, I think, just by himself is pretty good. If they just sold him like that, I think that would be a solid entry. But anyway, let's address the other two robots. So this guy is, well, his arm mode is actually pretty much the same as his vehicle mode. So there it is. That's his vehicle mode. You fold up these toes. Get this, actually, I'll do that later. So to get this guy into his robot mode, you're just going to lower his hips. You do have to parts form these two little pieces in the back. These will become his hands. You do pull these pieces out. These will be his shoulders, obviously. You're going to rotate his waist around, reveal this rhino animal bit down here. And then you need to like point his toes to get his fist out of the way, and then put his toes back into a regular pose. And then you can take his fists, and then there is a hand connection here. You just fold these down, and then you're going to slide these pieces into place, and there is his robot mode. And this is Tobot iron. I haven't found any place for these to go. I might just be overlooking it. I'm not gonna dig through the instructions, but it doesn't look like these attach anywhere on his body. I guess you can pull his leg off and you can give him these for a leg instead. I don't know why you would, but that's a possibility. There he goes. Now he's got a scoop for a leg. Yeah, much worse. And then he's got swiveling head, 360 on the shoulder. He's got full outward motion. He's he doesn't have very much ratchets. He's got like a soft ratchet here in the elbow. He's got this kind of fiddly arm thing. No bicep swivel. He's got universal hips on no ratchets at all. They're just loosey-goosey. They're strong enough to hold up a kick though. Forward, backwards. No thigh swivel. Nothing at the heel. Oh, he does have knee joint though. Oh. So he can bend his knee. And he does have waist swivel. So not too bad as far as irons, articulation. And then for Krome, this was where he left off in his arm mode. You're going to split his legs, obviously. You're going to rotate his fist back, straighten out his waist, and now you see he's got the lion. You're gonna point his toes, and then he's got the lion face down here, and then you're going to rotate the shoulders forward, and then just unfold these arms. And then this guy also has a very generic drone-like head with just a blank blue visor. Not too bad though, but he does look like a cheap Chinese knockoff robot. He doesn't look like anything special. And then you can see Iron has a little bit more personality, a little bit. And this guy's articulation is 360 on the shoulder, full outward motion again. He does have rotating waist, he does have swiveling neck, and he does have those same universal joints, and he's got a knee way up here, but it does count. And that's his basic articulation. And the cool thing you can do is you can take his excavator arm, you can just slide this onto his back here, and it gives him kind of a, I don't know, my Decepticon's scrapper kind of look. So you can get that going on, or you can switch out the bit, and you can just have him have the pile driver up here. It can look like kind of like a laser, which is always a cool look. I appreciate the Scorpion robot kind of look. And then you have all these like extra little bits that just don't really go anywhere. You can replace this with the excavator bucket. All right, there he is with the bucket, and here's like the group shot. And you can see that, what's his name? Steel is about as big as Metal Cardbot Trinity, and then the Iron is about the size of Dexter. So he's about the size of a basic Metal Cardbot, or I guess Voyager, the second size up Metal Cardbot. So these guys are gigantic. But seeing these guys together, you can see what my biggest complaint is like, why would you buy this robot when you can get this one? This one's just so much cooler looking, and this one's just so kind of junky looking. He just looks like a knockoff. Okay, and you pretty much saw how to transform this guy. You're just going to rip off his arms by pushing them backwards and disengaging them. You're going to just clip them together, and then you're going to sandwich the legs together, point the toes, and you're going to just fold up the vehicle mode, or the robot mode, whichever way he wants to go. And then you just take the shoulders, and the combine, or the biceps, have to fold back into the driver's seat. And you're just going to clip these together. And then there's your basic vehicle. Oh yeah, and then you're going to take this piece, and it's going to clip back here to complete the vehicle mode. What is this vehicle? It's a steamroller. So these are the rollers. So basically it just steamrolls over everything. It doesn't look very good, so I think that's why they give you the option of ripping off his legs. And then you can bring in these little bits, and then you can attach these onto his legs instead, and now you get a bulldozer, and that actually looks so much better. That actually looks like a convincing bulldozer. Not too bad. It's very cutesy, but again, it is like a little kid's toy. Okay, so next we'll get our Scorpion bot going. He does have some parts forming. You do have to pull this off of his back and then shove it in front of his face to hide his face. And then you are going to fold the arms backwards behind the shoulders. And then you're just going to sandwich these shoulders together. And then you do fold his hips up and around. You're going to sandwich the legs together as usual. I don't think you do. Oh no, you do have to fold in the toes. Let's go ahead and do that. And then you fold up this whole assembly, I think, this way. Oh, there you go. And then this is the vehicle, which is Um, Not great. It looks okay. The front end of it looks like you transformed it wrong, but that's how it's supposed to look. And then you do have the articulation here, so he can do some scooping action. And then as far as I can tell, there's no place to put his 2 little extra bits. So you can make him like a pile driving vehicle or a crane vehicle. And then this does not rotate, but he does have good spinning wheels. All right, and then finally for steel, you're just going to rip off his arms. You're going to put these connection ports back. You're going to rip off his cement mixer part. You're going to shove down his head and then close his chest. He does have this springing gimmick, which is very, very basic, but that's something he can do. And then you're going to clip his legs together as usual. You're going to point his toes. And then you're going to basically just rotate his hips and then fold him like you've probably done to 1,000 Optimus Primes. And then you get this, which kind of resembles a dump truck. Oh, you can slide his shins down too to give him some space there. So he does have like a good dump truck bed. And then you can take his arms, just collapse those together, and then you just clip those together, and this is going to become his mixer basically. And then you clip on this mixer adapter, and then you can put these spikes for storage, and then you're just going to drop this into the bed of the truck, and it clips in place somewhere. And there is Steel's mode, and then he does have, mine has a little bit of wear on this chrome here, but the other side looks nice and solid, so I'm not sure what happened to these letters. But that's the cement mixer mode, and these pieces do come off and they just become like little traffic cones for like some role playing. I guess you could use the spikes. You could pretend those are traffic cones too if you wanted. They're very different looking though. And then that's basically the whole set of vehicles. And then you have like just this piece left over, these little bits left over, unfortunately. Yeah, this set was, I bought this because it was about $105 on Gmarket. You can get really great deals on Gmarket if you're buying big robots. If you're trying to get something small, you'd probably best just do eBay because the shipping prices on Gmarket are very high. But you get a great deal on gigantic robots like this. I wouldn't recommend this robot even for a kid. There's more fun, simpler robots that you could get. But I figured I'd review it just so people could see what it's all about. I'll see you in the next one.